So let's continue our automation of our web page, right? This web page using Protractor, right? So in the last video, we looked at how you can automate entering text into these different text fields and also perform other operations like clearing this text field, then validating after you enter the text into these fields, right? So how you can do these things using Protractor. So we had written different specs for them. Okay, now today I'm going to talk about click operations in Protractor, right? So it's pretty similar to what you do in Selenium, but we will have a kind of live demo of how to click on different elements, right? So I'm going to pick up a checkbox, a button, and a link, right? So we are going to click on all of these different elements using Protractor, and we'll see how Protractor can do this, right? So let's create a new spec now where I'm going to click on this checkbox, right, for email preference. Okay, so I'm going to say select email preference, and then I'm going to declare a function. Okay, and so we need to grab the property of through which we can identify this checkbox, right? So let's inspect this, and it has got a ID checkbox, right? So I can use that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable called cb email pref, which will have this store this element, right? So element by dot id, and we'll put that checkbox here, right? Now we want to click on this, so it's pretty simple. You just take the element and then put the click operation here, right? So once we click it, since on the page, when you visit this page, this checkbox is automatically selected. Now I want to uh, deselect this, right? So when I click on this, it will be deselected, not selected. So I want to validate the same, right? How we can do that? So again, we'll use expect method, right? And we will take that element, and this time we'll use a method called is selected, right? So this is basically a method which tells you whether the checkbox is selected or not, right? So it will return true or false. Now, since it will return a Boolean value, we will use a different assertion kind this time, which is to be, right? Instead of to equal, we'll use to be, and here we will pass the Boolean value, right? So since it is deselected, it will be false. When it is selected, it will be true, right? So accordingly, you can change it. So this is our whole spec for the checkbox. And then for button, I will say submit form, right? And here I will have function again, right? And element. Now we need to grab the submit button identifier, right? So what's the identifier? As you can see, it has got also a ID, right? So we can use that by dot ID, and here we will use register button, and then we will say click, right? So that will click on the button, and we'll close this spec. Okay, so these are the two specs which I have added, right? One will kind of click on the checkbox, and one will click on the button. Okay, so let's see it in action. Now to run it, obviously you need to open the terminal, which I already showed you. And then you need to type Protractor and pass your configuration.js file, right? So it's conf.js. So that's the command, and press enter. It will start executing. It will open the Chrome browser and go to the page. It will perform all the operations which are defined in the specs. for your test suite, right? And then it will exit. So by default, Protractor exits after it executes all the scripts, right? So that's the default behavior of Protractor. It's not similar to Selenium, where if you don't put a kind of driver.close or driver.quit, it will not close the browser, right? So that's how you perform click operations on checkbox and button. Now we are going to look at another element, which is a link, right? Now for this, since it's a different page, right? Sign in page, although I can create it in the same spec.js, but I would prefer a different file for this, right? So I will say login underscore spec.js, right? So I'll create a new spec.js. Now in this, I'm going to again describe this, right? So it will be kind of test suite for me. And inside this, I will say login, right? Login user, and then function. Okay. Now inside this, I'm going to use different specs. Okay, so my first spec would be to click on the sign in page, right? Now before that, you need to have this function before all, because we want to go to that page again, right? So let's have it here. And then we will say, we'll define our spec here. Okay. So it click login and function. So let's grab now the sign in link, right? We need an identifier for the sign in link. So the ID, we have got a ID here, so we'll use that. So browser, sorry, so we'll use element. So by default, it thinks it's a different element function, right? So you need to press the escape key here, element, and we'll use by.id. We'll paste it here, and we will click on this link, right? Now, when you click on this link, it takes you to this page, right? Now, let's see if this page has got any title or not, right? So title is sign in iStock, right? So we can take this, and what we can do is expect, okay, browser dot driver dot get title. So we can use some of the assertions we have used earlier, right? So we can use to equal, and here we can paste that title. So this will be kind of assertion that we have actually reached to that page. Okay, so we clicked on the link and then we verified it. So clicking on different elements, as you can see, is almost the same. You just need to change the identifier, and the click operation will always remain the same, right? The only difference would be the click operation could perform different kind of different things on different elements, right? So in checkbox, it will either check out or deselect or select the checkbox. In case of button, it will submit the button, right? Submit the form. Or in case of link, it may open some other page, right? So you need to consider all those things when you are performing click operations on different elements, right? Okay, so let's see. Now let's save this first, okay? And let's type this command again and we'll see. Okay, so I did not. So can you guess what's the problem here? Am I executing the right script or not? No, right? Because I'm still executing the old spec.js, not the new spec.js. Now, as you have already guessed, in order to run the spec.js, right, we need to include it in our conf.js. So that's where the configuration lies, right? So either I can execute both the spec.js, right? I can do that so this is a kind of array which is there in specs. So you can execute both of them, or you can execute just one of them, right? So right now I'll just execute my login underscore spec.js, right? Okay, so let's try and execute this login spec.js. So it should click on the login link and it should take us to the login page, right? Where we'll verify whether it's actually the login page or not by taking the title and verifying the title. Okay, so as you can see, it has gone to the sign in page and it completed the test, which is successful. Okay, so that's how you interact with different elements using the click operation. In the next sections, I'm going to pick up some more element types and some more operations, and we'll see how we can do it using Protractor.